Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a book review for Ruin by John Gwynne. Ruin is the third book in John Gwynne's Faithful and the Fallen quartet. I do have reviews for the first two books, Malice and Valor. I will link them up in the cards as well as in the description box below if you would like to check them out. But before we go ahead and get on into the review, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, as well as giving this video a like to throw my channel a little bit of support. The way that I structure my reviews is I discuss the plot, the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like, and then I give the book an overall rating. I am going to be discussing a couple of spoilers in this book as well, so please make sure that you are checking the timestamps below if you would like to skip to any one of those particular sections. The premise for the Faithful and the Fallen series is that we are following a world known as the Banished Lands, and we are currently in the midst of this apocalyptic war that has a good side and has an evil side. The evil side is led by Asroth, almost like this demon-type god, and he has an avatar known as the Black Sun that is supposed to rise up and lead his armies. Then on the other side, we have the Bright Star, a savior figure, and this is Corban, who is a teenager. There has been a prophecy surrounding his ascension to become the Bright Star and lead the good god's armies into victory over the Black Sun. Driving this whole plot are these two gods, one good, one bad. We also have giants in this world that take sides, and then we also have these magical artifacts, these 7 ancient wonders that the different characters are trying to uncover as they will help them in their eventual victory. Going on into the things that I liked about this book encapsulates a lot of the traditional fantasy tropes that I really enjoy. In fact, I feel like John Gwynne purposely took traditional fantasy tropes and developed a story around it because I feel like you can find every single one in this series. There is also the trope of fate and prophecy, and whether the people who are actually chosen to fulfill these roles are fated to do so or are manipulated to do so remains to be seen, and that is a point that I am going to be discussing in my spoiler section coming up. But if you are someone that likes the chosen one or prophecy/fate trope and discussion thereof in your fantasy, this series definitely includes that. This book also has a very traditional fantasy setting, medieval type setting. There is no flintlock elements in this story or anything like that. I know some people that just enjoy the medieval type settings of their fantasy and don't really enjoy the elements of modern technology. So depending on what you like, this series may be for you. Other things that I liked in this series was compared to, for example, George R.R. Martin or Joe Abercrombie, the series is actually cleaner. And what I mean by that is it's more PG-13, whereas Martin and Abercrombie would be considered mature audience or rated R because of the content. I feel like John Gwynne does a good job creating a story without having those more mature elements, meaning that I feel like the series could be read by a younger audience. So while there is a ton of fighting and there is descriptions of injuries and, swords piercing people and all that, there is no graphic language, there is no graphic sex, there is no graphic torture. It is PG-13, so I think it is more accessible for younger audiences. And then another thing I really liked was a lot of the wholesomeness of this series. There is a good focus on camaraderie, on friendship, on hope, which is a theme that I feel like is lost a lot in fantasy because Corban and his group, who are constantly being hunted, they don't know if they're going to survive. They don't know if they're going to win this war. They are constantly having hope, and hope kind of binds them together. And reading those scenes actually warmed my heart quite a bit. And I also really liked how all of the characters, no matter what they go through, band together, support each other, love each other, are there for each other. It's just very wholesome to me and is a breath of fresh air compared to some of the bleaker, darker fantasies that I've read. Going on into the things that I didn't like, there's actually quite a bit. So the first thing is the amount of characters that there are. This was my complaint from the beginning of the series. There are 12 perspectives, I think, for Ruin, which is insane because in my opinion, number one, you don't need that many. Also, it contributes to an unnecessarily long book in my opinion, and I feel like when you have that many characters that you're reading from their perspective, you are losing something because you're not able to spend enough time with each character to have them be completely developed, and the characters' voices all started sounding the same. to the point where I find John Gwynne's characters very wooden, very stereotypical, and there's not enough in the way that they're written to differentiate each character from one another, except for whether they're a human or a giant or what side of the war they're fighting on. That is the only thing that is different about them. Everything else sounds the same. And there wasn't really one character that I liked over another because to me, their voices were all the same. Having said that, there were some plot lines that I enjoyed more than others. I said from the beginning that I enjoyed Camlin's plot line. I don't know why, he just reminds me of like a Robin Hood type character, and he goes from being an enemy to helping Queen Adana. I just like him. I don't know why. Out of all the characters, he's probably the most insignificant. And then I also like Makeen, and I really like the storyline that he brought in with Fidele. In this book, I really enjoyed seeing them work together and then the romance that blooms between them. So I thought that was really sweet. Having said that, there are some things regarding that plotline that I really did not like, and I'll discuss that in my spoiler section. This book is over 700 pages, and for me, I do not think that this book needed to be 700 pages because I felt like there was very little plot progression. This whole book surrounded the good guys, Corban, running from the bad guys, JL, Nathir, all of that. And they're constantly running from one place to the other, being followed, they fight, then they run to a new place, they're followed, they fight, and it happens over and over and over again. And John Gwynne is very famous for writing battle scenes and all of that. And yes, he does write battle scenes very well, but every single chapter, I felt like there was fighting. It was way too much. I was listening to the audiobook for this and I was physically reading. So when I was audiobooking, I would put it on 2x speed whenever there was a fight scene, or I would literally skip over pages whenever there was a fight scene because it was too much. It was too much. It was filler. It made the book long and you just didn't need it. It didn't do anything at all for the plot. And then this is just something I'm nitpicking on, and it's not specific to Ruin, it's like the whole series, but the fact that Corban is fated to be the bright star and to save the entire world from evil. Corban is like 17 years old. And I don't know if it's the fact that I am getting older, and when I think of like a 17-year-old, I'm like, no, you are a complete, utter child. You could not take on this responsibility. The idea of a teenager saving the world to me, as an older woman, is a big turnoff nowadays because I'm just like, no. Like, I work with 12 and 13-year-olds, and granted, that's a big difference from, to 17, but just no, just no. So there were a couple scenes where like all of these people were, giving their allegiance to Corban and just revering him as this great battle leader and this great leader to lead them into war. And in my head, I'm just like, you need to be like 20 years older. Now I'm going to discuss some spoilery things that I didn't like so much. So this is going to surround the prophecy regarding Corban. And one of the issues that I had in the beginning of the series was the prophecy trope, because I think that the prophecy trope is just weak writing because anything can happen. Oh, it's prophetic. Oh, he's fulfilling the prophecy because he was fated to do so. It's just weak writing. So what we learn from Michael, who is the Benelim, like an angel from the good side that is mentoring Corban, is that the prophecy is fake. Michael actually wrote the prophecy and then chose Corban to fulfill it. And I'm like, okay, that adds a little bit of depth, I guess, to this prophecy trope, but this is nothing new. I was really disappointed when I read that. I feel like if you want to read about a group of people that have been around for thousands of years that are manipulating the political machinations of a world, why don't you go read Dune? Because that is literally happens with the Bene Gesserit and Paul. That is literally what that story is partly about. And I just feel like it was done so much better than The Faithful and the Fallen Quartet. I also really did not like the ending where Corban gets captured, because this book was so long, so drawn out, where the characters were just running and fighting with the bad guys, that I feel like the last book is going to be all of Corban's friends trying to run and save him. And it's going to be the same exact regurgitated plot where the good guys are running after the bad guys. Oh, they get away. Okay, now they got to keep chasing them. Oh, they fight, they get away, because they're trying to save Corban. I feel like probably half of that book is going to be that, and I don't want it to be. And then kind of going back to some of the plot lines I was talking about that I liked with regards to Makeen and Fidele. So this is a good example of what I mean by this plot just not progressing. So we know that Makeen was captured by Lycos and Phytile was placed under a spell in order to be controlled by Lycos. We know that Makeen escaped, Phytile's spell was broken, and the two of them escape into the woods. And they're gone. Like, they escape Lycos. Oh my god, they get recaptured by Lycos. Why? Why, John Gwynne? Just let them be. And we've already been through this whole plot where Makeen is captured by Lycos and now we're doing it again. Just write something different. Like, don't just write the same thing over and over. Just progress the plot. So that was really aggravating to me when that happened. And I really, really hope that Veritas kind of steps up his game in the fourth book, because I thought maybe in the third book his eyes would be opened, he wouldn't be so dense, he would realize what's actually going on. And yes, that did happen at the end of the story, but by then it was kind of too late. So I feel like if he had been a better written character, all of that with Makeen and Phytile and Lycos could have been avoided, but it wasn't. All in all, you guys, I am really glad that I had the audiobook for Ruin, because I really did not want to spend a bunch of time reading 740 pages. I found this book to be a bit frustrating. I really wanted the plot to go faster. It was just filled with too much recycled content instead of actual storytelling. And I really am not looking forward to how book 4 is going to start based on the ending of book 3. There were some plot lines that I found engaging and I do want to continue. I did enjoy when all of the characters got to Drassel. I thought that was a really interesting setting. I personally just could not connect with this book as much as I thought I would, and I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. All right, y'all, that is it for my review of Ruin by John Gwynne. Let me know in the comments if you read this book and what you thought of it, or if you have any recommendations similar to this type of story. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in another video soon. Goodbye.